Alright guys, today in this video, we are going to focus on the basic settings of the Blocksy theme. And with that, I will assume you have logged on to your WordPress dashboard. And if you have done so, just navigate down to Appearance and click on Customize. Now, these basic settings is as regards to a blog website. So once you are here, come down here under the General options. Let's first of all click on the General tab. So first, starting from the top here is the layout. If you click on it, then you'll be brought to the layout settings section. And here, I will advise you leave everything the way they are because the sizes they used here is a universal size that will scale very good in all devices. So don't change anything here. And let's go back one step again. Now under it is the buttons. And as you can see here on the buttons settings, that the settings here are self-explanatory. As you can see that it's about the height of the buttons, including the hover effect, or even going into the design to work on the colors. So we go back one step again and come down and click on the breadcrumbs. Here, these are the settings of the breadcrumbs, like starting from the top here on the breadcrumbs source. We are making use of the default. And let me show you what the breadcrumb is like. If you go here now to destination and directly to, let's say, to navigate to Amsterdam, as you can see, this is the breadcrumb. And we navigated from the home to Europe and from Europe to Netherlands, which is a subcategory of Europe, and from the Netherlands to Amsterdam, which is a subcategory of Netherlands. And like I mentioned in most of my videos, that breadcrumb is very, very important, especially for search engine optimizations. So now here on the breadcrumb source, if you like, you can click it and make use of the Yoast. And now as you can see the Yoast breadcrumb, the difference here on your page is this double arrow separator. But there is also a place to change this double arrow if you want to change it, like if you want to make use of the Yoast, but we are not going to make use of the Yoast. So for that, I take it back to default. Now coming down here, you can see here under the general, on the separator we are using is type 1, which is this here. Now it's up to you to choose whichever separator you want to make use of, either type 2, type 3, or the default type 1 we are using. And under them, you see the home item. Home item is text. Now you can see it's text. That is why it's written home. And if you come under it, here on the home item, you can see the home page text. That is this home we see here. So you can clean it out and write anything you want to write, but normally it is known as home. So I will leave it as home. And in case you don't want to use the text as your home, maybe that you want to use an icon, a home icon, then you can click here on the icon tab. Then now, as you can see, that the home has turned to become an icon. So whichever one you want to use, just make your choice. But I'll take it back to the text tab. So now let's go back one step again. Then coming down to the form element. So the form element is something that concerns the comment section. Let's say you click on any single blog post right now. And as you can see here, by the panel settings here, you can see that we are using the classic form element layout. So if you want to make use of the modern, you can just select this one and you see the difference. But there is not much difference. And for that, I will still keep it on the classic, which is the default. And one other thing with the form element is that, let's suppose in your contact page or on this advertise with us page that you want to include a contact form, be it making use of the contact form 7 plugin or whichever plugin of your choice, then you can use this form element to style them. So let me go back one step again. So now back here, I will leave every other things the way they are, because as you can see that if we come down here, down to scroll to top, that we switch it on already. That is it here, scroll to top. And under it here on the website frame is, for example, you want to put a frame across the edges of your web pages. Then you can switch this one on. Now you can see the frame all around your web pages. But I don't want to make use of this. So I will switch it off again. So now let's just come up here and click on go back again. Then back here, under the general, we have the header. And the header is something that we are going to do a separate video about how to create a header, including the footer and sidebar. So now coming down to the colors, here is where you will work with the global color palette Like for example, the client you are creating this blog website for, or maybe for yourself. Let's say you have a custom color, and that custom color is what you want to use across your website. So the importance of this is that you can come here and choose or input your custom colors or the custom colors of your clients. Then I go back one step again. Now coming down to typography. This is one of the important section for every blog website, because if you are creating a blog website, your intention is that you are writing an article that people will come by and read. And for that, you would want the font size of your text to be big enough that it will be easier for anybody to see and read. So now, no matter any theme you are using, as long as you are creating a blog website, make sure you go into the typography and come to the font size of the text. Like this one here now. As you can see that by default, the font size of the text you have here on your blog pages are 14 pixels in size, and which is very, very small. So what I want you to do is that once you are here on the typography section, just increase the font size of the text to the standard font size, which can be something like 18 or 20. And in that same hand, if the line height and the letter spacing is not presentable, then you can work on them. But as I see the text I have here on my web page, their line height and letter spacing is looking great. So for that, I will leave it like this. If you also want to increase the font size of the headings, starting from heading 1 down to heading 6. So once you are done editing the font size of the text of your blog pages, then let's go back one step again. So down under the typography, we have the performance. So here on the performance, I will advise you leave everything. Don't do any changes, because by default, your website will be performing very well. But except if there is in one occasion where the images on your blog page is not loading properly, then you can come here and check this one out. But I don't even advise for that. I just want you to leave everything as it is here, because even if you want to optimize the images, there is a plugin for optimizing the sizes of the images you use on your website or on your blog website. So for that, there is nothing we are going to do here rather than to go back one step. Then back here, we come down under the post types. Under it here, we have blog posts, single posts, and categories. And all these are what we are going to cover in the upcoming videos, which means that we are going to do a separate videos on them. So for that, let's leave them for now and come down to pages. Also here on the pages, you can see we have pages, author page, and search page. And this author page and search page, including the blog posts, single posts, and categories, like I mentioned earlier, that we are going to do a separate videos on them. That the only thing we are going to do here is that I'm going to click on these pages here, because this one represents the static pages you have on your website. But all these ones you see here, like from the blog post, single post, categories, author page, search page, are all regarded as a dynamic page here on your blog website. So that the only tool here that represents the static page, like I mentioned shortly, is these pages. So if I click on it right now, here on the customizing settings of the pages, there is nothing we are going to customize here about the static pages. Because if you have been following my tutorials, you will realize that I have mentioned that if you want to design a static page, it's better you use a page builder, be it the Gutenberg or Elementor or whichever page builder of your choice. But it is better to design a static page with a page builder, which I always recommend Elementor page builder for this. So there is nothing much we are going to do here, because you already know that the static pages are about us page, contact us page, and even including this advertise with us page. So like I mentioned shortly, it is better to customize, design, and edit it with a page builder. So for that, I go back one step again. So now, back here again, we come under it, we have the core. Here on the core, we have the site identity, of which if you click on it right now, you'll be brought to this place where you can be able to update your site identity, including your site tagline, and also select a site icon for your blog website. And you can use your logo for this site icon, which will be shown here in the browser at the back of your website name. So going back one step again, then under the site identity, we have the menus and the widgets. I'm going to do a separate videos on how to create the menus for a blog website, including how to structure the widget areas. So now under them, here you come down to the homepage settings. So here on the homepage settings, as you can see, we are using the latest post, which is this our blog post page as our homepage. And like you know, that is one of the dynamic pages we have on our blog website. But you can also choose a static page to be the homepage of your website if you want to. And that is by coming down here and checking this box to choose a static page. And in the upcoming videos also, I will show you how to convert a static page to a dynamic page, or even also convert a dynamic page to a static page. So let's just leave it as it was before here on your latest post. Then go back one step again. Now under the homepage settings, we have here additional CSS. Here on additional CSS, this is where, for example, you know about the HTML and CSS codes that you can include your own custom CSS here. And this is a very useful thing to know, as in knowing how to write the CSS commands. But it's not a must that you must know it before you create a WordPress website. But all I'm saying is that it's an additional knowledge which will make you to improve in becoming an advanced WordPress web developer. So how it works here is that, let's say for example, that you want to hide everything on your web page. But I'm not saying that you will hide everything on your homepage. You can use it to hide one or two things, like sometimes we use it to hide some links down here. So how it works is, once you are here, let's say you want to hide something, which I'm going to use the body of this web page, for example. So if you know the class name or the ID of that particular thing you want to hide, then all you need to do is that, for example, I want to hide the whole body. I will come here and say body, then curly brackets. Now inside the curly brackets, I will say display colon none semicolon. You will see all the contents of your web page will be hidden, but that is not what we want. I'm only using this to show you how this additional CSS works. And like I mentioned shortly, that is not must that you will know how to write these CSS commands before you create a blog website or before you create a WordPress website. So I'm going to clean it out. Now go back one step again. Then lastly here on these settings, what we have here is the Yoast SEO breadcrumbs. If you click on it right now, then like I explained earlier in this video, that if you go to destination and navigate, for example, to Europe, to Netherlands, and to Amsterdam, that the breadcrumbs, just as you can see here, comes from the home to Europe, and from Europe to Netherlands as a subcategory of Europe, and from Netherlands to Amsterdam as a subcategory of Netherlands. Now, in between them, you can see their separators, which we are using the default one because we are not making use of the Yoast SEO breadcrumbs. But should in case you want to make use of the Yoast SEO breadcrumbs, then maybe you want to change the separator. You can come here and change the separator and input any separator of your choice here. Same thing like coming down to the anchor text for the home page. So same thing with coming down to other settings. You just leave them the way they are. So, and with that, I will go back one step again. So now come up here and click on publish once you are done with this basic Blocksy theme settings. So thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.